Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Hayley and I use this channel to document my transition into a more zero waste, natural, intentional lifestyle. So if that's of interest of you, please click subscribe below and join me on this journey as well. I would love to have you aboard. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Fertility Awareness Method and how it can be used as a contraceptive or as an aid to get pregnant. So firstly, what is the Fertility Awareness Method? It is a natural hormone-free alternative to things like the pill or the implant and the coil, things like that. And if it is used correctly, it can be up to 99% effective, which is in some cases more than the pill and other hormonal birth controls that you can get out there. You then use your natural signs of your body to identify when you're ovulating, so then you can go ahead and have unprotected sex or avoid it and have protected sex if you're trying to use it as a contraceptive. So how does this method work? What do you do to have this as a contraceptive or as an aid? So the main way that this works is by tracking your basal body temperature, and I have done a video recently all about how you track your temperature and I will link it above if that's of interest. But on today's video we're just going to be covering how it applies to the Fertility Awareness Method. If you would like to know how to use it generally and what thermometers to use and things like that, then check out my video below. So the basal body temperature chart is used to confirm ovulation after the fact, but there are other things that you can take from your body as signs to show you before you're ovulating or what stage you are at in your cycle. So number one of these is your cervical mucus. This varies throughout your cycle and it is generally consistent throughout your cycle. So once you identify the pattern of your cervical mucus, you should then be pretty confident where you are in your cycle. So your cervical mucus after your period, it should be pretty dry for a few days and then it should change into a sticky, milky consistency. When you move on to ovulation, then it becomes more clear, watery and stretchy, and that resembles egg white, which is why you may hear a lot egg white discharge, because that is the consistency of it around your fertile and ovulation period. Once you have ovulated, it tends to dry up a bit, or you can get that sticky, milky stuff back again, and then it's dry and usually until your period comes back. By identifying your cervical mucus, you can then identify where you are in your cycle. There are a couple of ways of how you can identify your cervical mucus. You can just see what is there when you wipe. So when you go to the toilet, you wipe before you go for a wee and then see what's on the tissue. Alternatively, if you want it to be more accurate, then you can put a finger up your vagina up until around the second knuckle, probably around here, using this finger ideally, and then have a little play around. Pop it back out and then you see on your finger what kind of cervical mucus is there, because there might be some there but not enough to come out onto your tissue. Another way you can track is your cervical position. So if you pop a finger up there and you notice that your cervix is lower or higher, the higher your cervix is, the closer to ovulation you are, because when you ovulate, your cervix wants to be as close as it possibly can to that egg to try and fertilize it. So if it is low, then it's likely that you're going to be not as fertile, and then if it's higher, then that's a good indicator that you are fertile. Along with all those things, to identify where you are in your cycle, you can also take note of other symptoms that you get. For example, ovulation pain is quite common, and I do experience ovulation pain as well, so I know roughly when ovulation occurs, as well as PMS. If you get a bit angry or a bit sensitive a few days before your period, that's a good indicator of where you are. Also, your breasts is a really good indicator of where you are, because if they get tender, then it's usually ovulation has occurred, and they usually tend to stay tender until your period comes the next cycle. By using all these methods, you can be quite reliable on where you are on your cycle, and there is only about a 7-day period maximum when you are likely to get pregnant, and that is during obviously your fertile period around ovulation. So it's usually around 5 days before ovulation and 2 days after ovulation that is a higher chance of you getting pregnant. So if you are trying to avoid it and then use this method as a contraceptive, then you just avoid unprotected sex during that time and use a barrier contraceptive, or just avoid sex altogether. Alternatively, if you're using this to get pregnant, then you make sure that you have a lot of unprotected sex during that time. Sperm can actually live inside you for up to 5 to 7 days, so that's why you are quite fertile, so 5 to 7 days before you actually ovulate, your egg is actually only available to be fertilized for 12 to 48 hours. So it's a very, very short gap in your cycle where you are able to get pregnant. So there's lots of advantages of using this method as contraceptive or as an aid to get pregnant, which includes the fact that it is hormone free, it's all natural, it's just about listening to your body. You don't have to have any special guidance, or you don't have to pay for any drugs, or you don't have to pay for anything. But there are some disadvantages as well. The NHS recommends that you use this method for 3 months before you rely on it as contraceptive. So if you track your cycles for 3 months and then you can stop using barrier method or whatever method you were using before, you obviously can't do it with the birth control pill or the implant or any other hormonal birth control, as that will affect your cycles. This method doesn't protect you from STIs, that you will need to use a condom if you are trying to protect yourself in that way. There's also things that stop this method working, such as if you are ill or stressed, because that can affect your body's cycle, and so it may not be as expected. As well, if you have some medical conditions that can affect your cycle as well, and this won't be as reliable, such as if you have PCOS or endometritis, then that can indicate you have irregular periods or irregular cycles, and therefore this is not as good as a method when using it with those types of conditions, because obviously if it's irregular, your body isn't going to have a pattern for you to follow and identify. So I hope this video was really helpful in whether you were deciding to come off hormonal birth control and start using this as a natural alternative, or if you're trying to get pregnant, then this is obviously key for you to get pregnant. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know below if you have, and like and subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Then you can put a finger up your vagina, up your vagina, up your vagina, vagina, up your vagina, vagina, up your vagina.